Imagine confidently trash-talking one of the world's most influential tech leaders, only to realize he's sitting right next to you. That's exactly what happened to a wealthy banker who thought he knew it all, until he met Elon Musk. This encounter is not just entertaining, but packed with a powerful lesson about success, humility, and innovation. The rhythmic hum of the luxury train echoed softly as it prepared to depart New York's Penn Station, bound for Chicago. Inside the first-class cabin, where plush leather seats and polished wood accents exuded exclusivity, Nathan Caldwell adjusted his silk tie and smirked. He belonged here. A rising star in investment banking, Nathan was used to being the most important person in any room, or in this case, any train car. As he settled into seat 3A, he glanced around at his fellow passengers, gauging which of them might be worth engaging. His gaze landed on a vacant seat 3B beside him. Perfect, he thought. Maybe I'll get some peace and quiet. He ordered a glass of whiskey, savoring the attendant from the train attendant, who greeted him with polished professionalism. Moments later, the seat beside him was claimed by a man in a simple hoodie and well-worn sneakers. He carried no flashy designer luggage, no telltale signs of wealth. Instead, he moved with an unassuming ease, placing a single bag beneath his seat before settling in. Nathan barely acknowledged him, probably just another business traveler, nothing more. As the train gave a gentle lurch and began rolling forward, Nathan exhaled, pulling out his phone to check the latest stock reports. This was going to be a smooth ride, or so he thought. Little did he know, his seatmate would soon give him the most humbling experience of his career. As the train gained speed, Nathan Caldwell leaned back in his seat, sipping his whiskey with practiced ease. The first-class service was exactly as he expected. Exclusive, attentive, and tailored for men like him. He scrolled through his phone, smirking as he checked the latest updates on his investment firm's soaring profits. Another win, another reminder of why he was at the top. His seatmate, still silent beside him, had opted for a bottle of water instead of alcohol, something that made Nathan chuckle under his breath. Might as well be sitting in coach, he muttered, just loud enough to be heard. The man gave a small, polite smile but said nothing. Nathan, however, wasn't one to enjoy silence. Turning slightly, he glanced at the man in the hoodie, sizing him up. No watch, no expensive briefcase, no aura of wealth. Probably some mid-level tech guy or a startup dreamer, Nathan assumed. Nothing impressive. Business or pleasure, Nathan asked, his voice carrying the tone of someone who expected the conversation to revolve around him. Just traveling, the man replied simply. Nathan smirked, uninterested in small talk. He wasn't used to being ignored. He stretched his arms and without prompting began talking about himself, his latest financial conquests, high-profile clients, and the billions he moved through markets like pieces on a chessboard. He thrived on admiration, on being the smartest man in the room. But his seatmate only nodded occasionally, offering no real engagement. Nathan wasn't used to this. Annoyed by the lack of reaction, he decided to steer the conversation toward something more provocative. His strong opinions on the tech industry and its so-called visionaries. That would get a response. Nathan swirled the amber liquid in his glass, letting out a small chuckle as he prepared to stir the conversation in a direction he was sure would make his seatmate engage. If there was one topic guaranteed to ignite opinions, it was the so-called tech geniuses of the world, especially Elon Musk. You know, he began, voice carrying just enough to ensure the surrounding passengers could overhear, people give way too much credit to guys like Elon Musk. He took a slow sip, savoring the weight of his own words. Everyone acts like he's some kind of revolutionary, but let's be real, he's just good at marketing himself. His seatmate remained still, offering no reaction. Encouraged by the lack of resistance, Nathan pressed on. Tesla, he scoffed, overhyped. Electric cars were coming with or without him. He waved a dismissive hand. SpaceX, sure, it's impressive if you like watching rockets blow up while burning through billions. He leaned in slightly, grinning. And don't even get me started on Twitter. That whole takeover? An absolute train wreck. Still, his seatmate didn't argue. No pushback, no rolling of the eyes, no impassioned defense of Musk, just a quiet, unreadable patience. Nathan mistook this silence for uncertainty. He smirked, convinced he was schooling a tech enthusiast who probably worshipped Musk. "I mean, let's be honest," he continued, feeling the attention of a few nearby passengers. "The guy's nothing but a glorified PR stunt. People like me, the real innovators, the ones moving money and shaping industries, we're the ones actually building the future. Musk just sells a dream that people are too gullible to question." A faint chuckle came from the man in seat 3B, so subtle Nathan almost missed it. That only fueled him more. "Oh, you think I'm wrong?" Nathan challenged, leaning forward. The man finally looked up slightly, though the brim of his baseball cap still shielded most of his face. "No," he said simply, "I think you're passionate." Nathan frowned, momentarily thrown off. Was that a compliment? An insult? It didn't matter. He wasn't done proving his point. "Passionate," he repeated, laughing. "I call it realistic." He waved his hand dismissively. "Musk is just riding the hype train while guys like me are actually making things happen." The man in seat 3B didn't argue. He just nodded lightly, returning to his phone, as if Nathan's words weren't worth debating. And that was the moment when Nathan should have started paying closer attention. Nathan leaned back, satisfied with his own argument. He had dominated the conversation as usual. His words had drawn subtle attention from a few nearby passengers, and the confidence in his voice made him feel like he had just won a debate, even though his seatmate had barely said a word. But something about the man's calm, unwavering presence started to bother him. There was no annoyance, no eagerness to argue, no attempt to defend Musk, just quiet amusement, as if he were watching a child throw a tantrum and waiting for him to tire himself out. Nathan wasn't used to being ignored. He tapped his fingers on the armrest, his frustration growing. "You never answered my question," he said, turning back to his seatmate. "What do you do?" The man hesitated briefly, then offered a small, almost indifferent shrug. "I'm in tech." Nathan smirked. Of course, just another startup dreamer, another guy trying to strike gold in the industry. He nodded knowingly, as if he had the man figured out. "Figures, let me guess. Crypto? AI, one of those buzzword industries?" he asked, his voice dripping with condescension. The man gave a small, unreadable smile. "Not exactly." The ambiguity only irritated Nathan more. He thrived on certainty, on being the smartest person in the room, and this guy wasn't giving him anything to work with. "So what's your take on Musk then?" Nathan pressed. "I mean, if you're in tech, you must have an opinion." The man finally looked up, just enough for Nathan to catch a glimpse of his face beneath the baseball cap. His expression was still neutral, but there was something behind his eyes. Something sharp, something observant. He paused before responding. "He's done some interesting things." Nathan laughed. "That's the understatement of the century. You mean reckless, right?" He leaned in, eager to keep control of the conversation. "Come on, you can admit it, Musk is all hype." This time, a flicker of something crossed the man's face. Amusement? Annoyance? It was hard to tell. "Maybe he's just doing what he thinks is best," the man said finally, his tone neutral. Nathan scoffed, spoken like someone who's never dealt with real-world consequences. The man simply smiled, a knowing, almost amused smile. And for the first time, Nathan had the uneasy feeling that he had missed something important. Nathan sighed, shaking his head as he turned back to his drink. This guy was impossible to read. He wasn't arguing, wasn't agreeing, wasn't even really engaging. It was like talking to a wall, one that somehow made Nathan feel like he was the one missing something. Then, something caught his attention. A train attendant approached their row, pausing beside seat 3B with a polite yet notably respectful demeanor. "Mr. Musk," she said with quiet professionalism, "your arrangements for arrival in Chicago have been confirmed. Let us know if you need anything else." Nathan froze. His mind stalled. "Mr. Musk." He turned his head slowly, his brain scrambling to catch up. The hoodie, the quiet confidence, the way the train staff had subtly acknowledged him. It all clicked. The man he had spent the last hour loudly insulting was Elon Musk. Nathan's heart pounded in his chest as he replayed the conversation in his head. Every dismissive remark, every arrogant jab, every so-called realist critique of Musk's work. And the whole time, Musk had been sitting right there, listening. A wave of embarrassment crashed over him. His mouth had run faster than his brain. The smug confidence that had filled him just moments ago evaporated. He dared a glance at Elon, who remained completely calm. No anger, no irritation, just quiet amusement. Nathan swallowed hard. For the first time on this train ride, he had nothing to say. Nathan's face burned with humiliation. His once relaxed posture stiffened, and he suddenly felt exposed, as if every passenger around him had witnessed his arrogance unravel in real time. How could he have been so blind? He had spent the last hour mocking, dismissing, and ridiculing the very man who had revolutionized industries Nathan barely understood beyond stock trends. Desperate to regain some dignity, Nathan forced out a laugh, a weak attempt to smooth over the disaster he had created. "Well, that's ironic," he muttered, shifting in his seat. "Didn't realize I was giving a TED Talk to the man himself." Elon Musk simply studied him, his expression unreadable. He wasn't gloating, wasn't smug. He just let the weight of the moment settle on its own. Then, in his signature calm manner, he spoke. "Criticism is useful when it's constructive," Elon said, his voice even, deliberate. "Was yours?" Nathan's mouth opened slightly, but no words came out. His mind flashed back to the way he had casually torn apart Musk's work without a second thought. How he had framed himself as the true innovator, when in reality, he had built nothing. Elon didn't look angry. He didn't need to be. His words were simple, but they hit Nathan harder than any insult ever could. For the first time in a long time, Nathan realized he wasn't the smartest man in the room. Nathan sat in silence, his mind racing, grappling with the brutal truth Elon had just laid before him. He had always prided himself on his intelligence, his ability to assess industries and predict financial trends. But now, faced with someone who had actually built the future, he felt painfully out of his depth. Elon leaned back slightly, his tone still calm, almost casual. "You mentioned Tesla," he said. "Do you know how many accidents have been prevented because of our driver assistance technology?" Nathan swallowed hard but said nothing. "And SpaceX?" Elon continued. "It's easy to call it reckless when you're watching from the sidelines, but did you know we've reduced the cost of access to space by over 90%? Or that we're working on technology that could one day protect humanity from extinction-level events?" Nathan felt smaller with each passing second. He had thrown around opinions as if they were facts, convinced that his perspective as an investor made him an authority on everything. But here was a man who had taken real risks, made real sacrifices, and pushed boundaries that others wouldn't dare approach. Elon finally glanced at Nathan, his voice softening just slightly. "Twitter is chaotic, sure," he admitted. "But sometimes, chaos is necessary for change. Ideas evolve through friction. Without it, there's no progress." Nathan let out a slow breath. For the first time, he wasn't thinking about how to respond, he was actually listening. As the train neared Chicago, the once boastful Nathan sat in uncharacteristic silence. The weight of the conversation hung over him, far heavier than he expected. For years he had prided himself on being the smartest person in the room, the one who always had the sharpest insight, but today he had been forced to confront an uncomfortable truth. He had been speaking, but not thinking, criticizing, but not understanding. He turned to Elon, his voice quieter than before. "Mr. Musk, I just wanted to say, I'm sorry." Elon glanced at him, his expression unreadable at first, but not unkind. Encouraged by the lack of dismissal, Nathan continued. "It's easy to sit back and critique, to act like I know everything just because I see numbers on a screen. But building something, actually making a difference, that's a whole different level." "I didn't see that before." Elon studied him for a moment before offering a small nod. "Apology accepted," he said simply. "Just remember, Real progress doesn't come from opinions, it comes from action. As the train slowed into Chicago Union Station, Nathan exhaled, feeling something unfamiliar: humility. He had boarded this train believing wealth made him important, but today he had learned that true success isn't about money. It's about vision, risk, and impact. For the first time in a long time, Nathan wasn't thinking about his next deal. He was thinking about what kind of legacy he wanted to leave behind. The story of Nathan and Elon Musk serves as a powerful lesson in humility, respect, and the true meaning of success. Nathan, an arrogant investment banker, believed that status and wealth equated to intelligence and influence. He was quick to criticize without understanding, assuming that being financially successful gave him the authority to judge others, especially those who take real risks in innovation. However, when he unknowingly insulted Elon Musk to his face, he was forced to confront the reality that true greatness isn't about money, it's about vision, perseverance, and impact. Musk didn't argue, didn't retaliate with insults. Instead, he let Nathan's own arrogance unravel under the weight of facts. This story teaches us that it's easy to judge from the sidelines. Many people dismiss visionaries without recognizing the effort, failures, and breakthroughs required to create real change. Innovation isn't about playing it safe, it's about daring to challenge the impossible. In the end, Nathan learned that true respect isn't earned through loud opinions, but through understanding and action. The real question isn't who's the loudest in the room, but who's actually building something that matters.